Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you from Highland Cycles with another weekly Shlog. Thanks for joining me. It's going to be a good week here at Highland Cycles. Very excited to bring you guys along. If you're new to the channel, this is our weekly vlog where we show you all the cool things that happen at a little tiny Western Colorado motorcycle shop called Highland Cycles. So let's get started. Alright guys, so this is cool just because these are super rare. I doubt most of you have actually seen one of these. Now, you older guys watching this, you'd be like, yeah, of course I've seen one of those. I had like 6. Well, you know what I mean. Most of the guys watching YouTube these days have probably not seen one of these. This thing is crazy. For those of you who are young and don't know, Yamaha used to make WR 2-strokes. And this is one of those. This is a 500 WR. It's crazy. This gentleman owns lots of 500 2-strokes. He actually owns the KX500 that was here, the old 88. And yeah, we're doing fork seals on this one, and then we're going to make sure it runs right. That's if, of course, Zach is willing to really get on the throttle on a 500 2-stroke, an air-cooled 500 2-stroke. But yeah, guys, check this thing out. It's freaking cool. I'm pretty excited to even just have it here, just because you just don't get to see that kind of stuff. But anyway, that thing's cool. So, first job for me today is hopefully pretty simple. We got a gentleman who was installing a new sprocket and sprocket bolts, and he actually using his torque wrench, and he snapped the head of this off. I'll show you it. Get in there tight. Does that. So the way, if you guys don't know, the way bolts work on sprockets is the hub is just a hole and the bolt passes through it, no threads or anything like that, and then you tighten up the thing. And actually, was just last week's Shlog, I talked about how you want to make sure you get those things tight. Well, he set his torque wrench to 25 foot-pounds or whatever. I don't know what he said it was. Anyway, and he torqued all the rest of them. And he got to that one and bink! And yeah, there it goes. Now, these are titanium, and I'm wondering if maybe he just got a bad one. I mean, titanium is usually pretty strong. It's all good. Or if maybe his torque wrench wasn't calibrated or something like that, and he went over. Because while Ti is strong in some ways, it's not that strong in others. So we're going to get this thing out. I have an idea. Alright guys, so to fix this thing, what I need to do is I got to get this bolt to stop spinning when I have the wrench on the back. So I'm going to start with this guy. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. There we go. This is like a step drill bit from Matco. They're pretty cool. They tend to not want to walk around so much. So we're going to start with that. Got to put a wrench on the back of it so it doesn't spin. And hopefully this will work. There we go. So now, I'm going to take a Torx bit. See if it's about... That's close, but I'm going to go a little bit further in. That feels like it should be about right. Now we're just gonna tap her in there. We'll tap, tap, tap. Alright, so take a smaller one because I just want to get that thing down in there. So that Torx bit hopefully is going to hold that thing still while we... There we go. Actually, it looks like it's kind of interesting. Me just beating that thing down into the sprocket is holding it, not so much the Torx bit anymore. Alright, we got the nut off the back. Come on. It's just going through because I can't. There we go. That bolt did not come out like I thought it was going to. I ended up just driving it through because it turns out it broke almost all the head off, and me trying to drive that Torx bit into the hole that I drilled just forced it through. So that ended up working out just fine. I'm just going to take all these titanium bolts out and replace them with steel bolts. He doesn't trust them. I don't blame him, since he was using a torque wrench and was torquing to spec and it still snapped. Also, no, you're not imagining things. I didn't shave. That's the problem with the shooting a week-long video, is the continuity isn't always there. But yeah, I figured it was time to shave, clean up. Spring's around the corner, so anyway, gonna take those out, replace them with steel ones, and then we'll get back to work. Real quick, the next thing on the lift, just if you guys are watching and you're thinking about skipping the video, I recommend you don't, because we will be putting an RK head onto this brand new 2021 300 TX Husky. So we got an RK head and a DynoJet Power Commander 5 with their RK's map in it. So super excited to try that thing out. See if we can't make the TPI bikes run a little bit closer to the way a a little bit closer to the way a carbureted bike runs when it's tuned well. So Zach got the forks done on the 500 WR. Now he's going to take it for a test ride, hopefully not wheelie it over backwards. I had mentioned in last week's Shlog that I had a little story time about Bell Ray Gear Saver, and a couple of you guys mentioned that you did want to hear it, so I'm going to keep it short, but let me just tell you what I'm talking about. So back in 2011, I had a 2012 KTM 300, my first KTM. It was the end of the year I bought it, you know, whatever. And I took it to Oklahoma to race it in the Gold Rush, and on the first lap of a 8-lap race, each lap was about 10 miles, so about an 80-mile race. On the first lap, sometime during the first lap, something flipped up and hit the bottom of the clutch cover on the right-hand side of the bike and drained all the transmission oil out. Now, you gotta understand, I had Bell Ray in there. I'd had the bike about 2 months, 3 months, so I'd changed the oil a few times. Had my Bell Ray Gear Saver in there, and anyway, if something flipped up, hit the bottom of the clutch cover, poked a hole in it, drained all the oil out. I didn't know. I was racing. I didn't crash, it didn't hit anything. Hey, look, there's Zach. Woo! So I hadn't crashed or anything, so I wasn't looking for a leak or anything like that. But about 3/4 of the way through the first lap, I started hearing weird noises coming from the transmission of the motorcycle. And about 3 laps in, I started hearing the clutch going every time I'd let the clutch out. And but I was racing, and I kept looking around, and nothing seemed messed up, so I just kept going. Finished the race, got off the bike, looked underneath it, saw what had happened, and it was like underneath on the bottom, so it didn't get on my boot or anything. So I was, needless to say, super bummed out. The next day was another race, and I had a spare bike, but when I pulled that thing out of the van, I turned the gas on, the gas just was running through the carburetor because the needle and seat were anyway, I couldn't fix it. It turned out to be the O-ring. It was on a YZ 125. It turned out the O-ring around the seat that pushes into the float, or pushes into the carburetor, excuse me, had cracked. And anyway, so there's no way to fix it. So my wife said, well, can you just JB weld that and go ride it anyway? I mean, how bad can you break it anymore? That's why I love her. And I said, hey, you're probably right. So I JB welded the hole, poured transmission oil into it, went and raced another almost 80 miles of racing, and had 0 issues. And that bike ended up with over 500 hours on it before I sold it, with never replacing a part in the transmission. I put clutches in it, but like not because of that. So anyway, that is why I run Bell Ray Gear Saver 80 weight. Here it is. that's the stuff. I absolutely love it. I think it works great. It works good with the recluses. It works good with everything. Anyway, so that's why I stick with it. It's about $13.50 a quart, so it's not terribly expensive. And yeah, anyway. All right, back to work. All right, guys, as promised, I am now going to be installing the RK head and DynoJet Power Commander 5 on this 2021 TX300i. If you guys haven't watched the video of Andrew and I riding together, what was it? Just a few days ago anyway, we were riding and I was on the KTM 125 with the new RK head. He was on his 21 TC 250 with carburetor that we jetted, and he was so much happier with the way the carburetor ran than this thing. Like I said, it's brand new. He's done the power valve, red spring, anyway, all that stuff that you can do without spending a bunch of money, and he is just still not impressed at all. So now, because we talked to the guys at RK, Kelsey, thank you very much, Kelsey, and he offered up the idea of getting us ahead and the Power Commander and making this thing run right. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. So I'm gonna take this thing apart and then I'll check back in as we start to go into the motor. Alright guys, so just like on the 125, this is pretty simple. It's less simple because of the fuel injection and the fact that it's a 300. So on the 125, the motor mounts actually just go to the cylinder, so you don't have to take those off. But on this guy, we got to take the motor mounts because they go to the head. Then also we got a pressure sensor, temperature sensor, I don't know, some sort of sensor up there. And then we got a dumb thermostat, and anyway, so we'll get all that out of the way. But first, we're going to start by draining the coolant, and then yeah, we'll start unbolting things. Oh, I haven't told you the Foxy Bibs story. Oh, the Foxy Bibs story. He basically came up with that. He screwed up. So that's a phenomenal. So you guys watching, this is how Foxy Bibs got his name. Little story time here. So Mr. Brian Hellier, as I used to know him, came in one day, sometime I think in early December, late November, probably early December. Anyway, and he's like, "Hey," in his New Zealand accent. How, you know, he's like, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I'm like, yeah, man, what do you need? He's like, "Well, I want to buy my wife something for Christmas, but I don't want her to know that I bought it." And I was like, "Well, then just buy it." And he's like, "Well, that doesn't work like that. She has control of the money." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "She sees every transaction and where it comes from, and so I can't really just buy it online. I got to order it." And I'm like, oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, so can I order it through you? You know, I'll pay you. You buy it, bring it in here." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, that's fine." And he's like, "Okay, great." And I'm like, "So what is it?" And he's like, "Well, here, let's go to this website." So we go to this website, and they were a pair of bibs, right? So bib pants for snow, and they were called the Foxy Bibs because they were women's bibs. And I looked at them, I'm like, "So they're called Foxy Bibs?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, that's your new name." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you just got named Foxy Bibs." He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Dude, you just asked a guy to order you something called Foxy Bibs. You say it's for your wife, right? Like, you're claiming that it's for your wife, but let's be honest, I don't know who it's going to. So I'm calling you Foxy Bibs forever." He's like, yeah. I'm like, "Oh, no, it's going to stick." He's like, no, it won't." I'm like, "Oh, Yes, it will. And it has! It's stuck 100%. So, yeah, that's how we got his name. Alright, we got all the bolts loose. Come in here. Let's see if we can't loosen that. Yeah, okay. It's got these little dowel pins in it that always make it a bit of a hassle. So, soft hammer. Come in here. There we go. It's kind of interesting. It's an interesting looking head, the way it's burning for fuel injected, supposedly awesome running bike from KTM / Husqvarna. Anyway, you know what I mean. So yeah, all right. Let me clean that thing up a little bit, and we'll take a look at it versus the RK head. All right, there we go. I'm not going to clean it too much because I'm not going to use it again. So anyway, so there is the stock head off of a 2021 Husqvarna TX300, and here is the beautiful RK head. You can see a lot of differences, guys. So let's start with the squish. The squish band, which is this band right here. You can see this distance. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but you can tell that's actually quite a big gap right there, way more than on the 125 on the stock one. So start there, you take a look at that. Now, come here and look at the squish band, the distance between it and the deck of the head. It's a lot smaller. So that is changing that squish band, which is going to help force everything into the center at a higher rate, right? Get it all in there. Then let's take a look at the dome. If we look at this dome, you can see it's very old school, kind of dish down in. I mean, it's whatever, it's fine, but it's not, you know, not that great. Then we come here and we can see it's a very different looking dome. It's, first of all, it's a lot shallower. This angle's a lot different. The squish band's also smaller, getting everything up into the combustion chamber quicker. And then obviously we got RK's proprietary milling marks on here that help to burn everything efficiently so we don't have any misfires. It's a beautiful piece of equipment. It's an insert also, which is nice, meaning that we can change this. This is set for our elevation. So what I did is I told Kelsey where we ride, which is generally 6,000 feet and up, is, you know, Montrose and up, and then he's a racer, trail rider, you know, B to A level, depending on how bad he's crashing, and then want to run pump gas, don't want to have to buy race gas up here, so that's how he built it for us. It's really, really beautiful piece of equipment. Really excited about that. Now it comes with O-rings that I got to put in, you know, install in here, and then we'll drop the head in, and then we'll bolt it down. And unlike the 125, this is directional, needs to go in a certain spot, but it's pretty easy to line up. You can see the dowel pin marks. It's, you know, it's simple. I can hold it. Yeah, that's crazy. So I thought I could hold that insert up in there as I set it down, but with the water hose kind of pushing it and whatever, that's not gonna work. So, gotta come up with a better way of keeping those little O-rings in place. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of grease, as we do with things we wanna hold in place. Put a little bit of grease on those O-rings, and then install them. And this is just the normal Motorex grease that I use for everything, and it will go away as soon as some coolant hits it, you know, any excess. That went way better. Alright, so now gonna have to pull our sensor out, put it into the new head. But actually, I think I'm gonna bolt it down first so that it doesn't move while I'm fiddling with that. And then I gotta gap this spark plug a little bit different. Probably put a new one in it, but yeah, I need to gap that. I think at 20,000. So I'm gonna call Kelsey real fast to make sure that's right, but I'm pretty sure that is the right way. Bolt it all down, and then we'll move on to putting the DynoJet thing on. Alright guys, got the head on, everything's torqued down, ready to rock and roll. Now it's time to work with the DynoJet Power Commander 5. I have never worked with the Power Commander 5. The last Power Commander I worked on with, whatever you want to call it, anyway, was quite a while back on a street bike, so I don't know much about them. But we did get the custom map from RK Tech, and that is already installed. It's super duper easy to deal with. You got a USB cable. One thing is you cannot have a Mac computer. You have to have a Windows-based computer, otherwise their software doesn't work. Anyway, we saved the specific map that's actually for the DynoJet made for this bike, for the 300. So that's saved on my buddy's computer. So if we need to use it, we can. But we put in Kelsey's map because, I mean, Kelsey built the head. He does a lot of programming on other fuel-injected things, so I think it's probably going to be better. But so let's look at our instructions. All right, guys. So I'm installing this thing, starting to install it, and this is the Power Commander. That's the computer part, and it's got to go in like there, back and around. So it's all set up to be Velcroed and all that, but like, I have an idea how I'm going to make it work, but like, I don't know. I don't love that because it's just going to be whipped out of the way, and hopefully it stays clean and happy and stuff. So yeah, let me show you what I'm going to do here. So there's no way to like put it in there, like get it, know where it is, put it in there, and then put this thing on there. So what I'm going to do is put both sides of the Velcro on here and leave a sticky part out, and then chuck it in there, and then hopefully that holds it. Alright guys, so that's what I'm going to do. I got the Velcro adhered to the back of this. Now I'll take this guy off of there. Now I can put it in there, stick it, and then if I need to remove it, I can just pull it off. Okay guys, we got the Power Commander installed. I didn't film it because it's just tedious, but routing the wires sucks. It's not easy to do, but we got it done, so it's all good. Really happy with the way everything looks. I got everything zip tied up out of the way. I feel good, like it is all gonna stay in place and not rattle around, so that's good. But yeah, it's crazy how many wires there are. So basically, Power Commander right now is sitting right up in here. Wires come up, over, down, around, underneath. Then you hook to both injectors, one on either side. You hook to the crank position sensor wires, and then you hook to the TPS sensor. I put the Bulletproof Designs guard on here so that when Andrew falls and hits something, hopefully we won't break that. So yeah, now all we got left to do is put the tank and everything back on it and fire it up and see how it does. Yeah, hopefully this thing runs way better than it used to, because these fuel injected bikes are just, they're just okay. Yeah, let's bolt everything back up and see how it goes. Alright guys, I got everything hooked up, tank hooked up, nothing's bolted down yet. Guess all we got left is just to hit the button, see what happens. That's a good sign, right? Feels pretty good. Just here, throttle response feels good. So I'm gonna finish buttoning it up, and then So we go take it for a little spin. All right, guys, so took the bike out. Tumbleweed is here and got to test ride the thing. What do you think, Andrew?
It's definitely way better.
Yes, right on. I felt really good. It felt almost as good as my carbureted bike. That's awesome.
It's definitely closer.
Yeah, but it feels good. So I'm obviously not going to go into much right now because we just rode it around on the road. It's really hard to tell, except for that it likes to wheelie easier and it's snappier. So that's awesome. But yeah, make sure you stay tuned and hit the old subscribe button because we'll do a full review once we get out in the dirt. Probably this coming Saturday for Dawn Patrol. So I don't know. All right, guys, so we just had an FC 450 in here, a 2020 with 13 hours on it is all, and it was, everything was working fine, and been riding it, racing it. It's a, FC's motocross bike, and he'd been racing some motocross, everything was fine, and then he went to switch levers, and when he switched levers, he just put some cool guy, bendy, anyway, he put those on, and all of a sudden the clutch quit disengaging, so you pull it in and it would just keep dragging and act like it was in gear, or act like the clutch was out. Anyway, and he bled it and put the other levers back on and did all this stuff, and he finally brought it in. I was trying to help him out. They were actually working out of town. I was trying to help him out via Messenger, and anyway, they couldn't get it figured out. Went to a race. They bled it again. They had a guy there help him bleed it. Bled it. Got it to where it would work okay. And then brought it here. Zach took it apart. I told him, let's just take a look at the actual clutch first. Let's do that before we put more brake fluid through it and try to bleed it. And let me show you what we found. So, go to take the clutch out, everything. I wanted to make sure everything was tight, like the nut hadn't come loose on the clutch hub. I've seen that happen, never on a brand new bike, but you never know. But to get there, we have to take everything out. And this plate looked good. That plate seemed okay. And then we start seeing the pretty rainbow blue colors from it obviously getting super hot. The outside plate looked pretty good, and this outside plate looked pretty good. But then as you get past it, it just goes bluer and crappier. And that's kind of how clutches work. I can't really explain why for sure that happens, except for that they're in the pack, so they're going to hold more heat anyway. And those outside plates are up against aluminum that would help cool it or pull heat away. So anyway, also when Zach went to pull these out, the whole pack came out as one unit, and then really didn't want to come apart. It had to kind of get a screwdriver in there and peel them apart. So I ended up having a clutch pack from a KTM that we had put a recluse into, and the guy didn't want the original pack, so I just kept it because it was in good shape and put that in, and it's working great. So if you're having clutch problems with a hydraulic clutch, first of all, definitely bleed it first because that's easy and you don't have to take motor things apart. But if you don't get anywhere, don't be afraid to pull that clutch cover off and take a look in there and see what's going on. So next thing coming is I'm going to put bigger jets in the 125 again. I know I said in the kind of first review video of it that I wasn't going to touch anything, but I've talked to Kelsey at RK, and he's like, dude, go up. I think you can get more power out of that thing. So I'm just going to keep going up until we feel the power kind of fall off, and then we'll come back down and be good. But man, this thing is running great. Also, guys, it's not here yet, but very soon, I think, hopefully tomorrow, I got to check my shipping tracking. But I talked to the guys at XC Gear, and I ordered every possible elastomer combination for the XC Gear Mako 360, so that I can test all the different combinations between the soft ones, hard ones, medium. Anyway, and we can find the absolute best combo for me, which is a very personal thing, but then also I'd like to say that I represent a lot of guys who are in our 40s that have bad wrists elbows and things like that from riding so much. And so yeah, hopefully we can find the best setup. So anyway, on to the next thing. Running even better. We might even have to go up. So now I have a 460 main jet and a 37.5 pilot. Red needle still in the number 3. Yeah, it just keeps running better. So I might have to keep going. It's super clean. So yeah, I'm learning all kinds of new things about jetting now that I have this head. And I talked to Kelsey a lot about it. And with the original heads on these things, you get all these misfires, so they seem rich, like overall rich, because they're doing this misfire thing, and so you lean it way out and it gets real crisp and clean like we had it. But when you get the head fixed, it changes everything. So yeah, I'm really, really happy, and it's exciting to learn new stuff. Like, I always felt like I had jetting pretty well dialed, but I never had the head of my motorcycle fixed. So we're learning new stuff. It's awesome. Hey guys, so it's Saturday, heading towards the end of the Shlog, and my kid Thomas just took off on a 2021 YZ125X that we're working on. He's test riding it. I just got done jetting it. He put fork bleeders on it, and then he's going to give it back. It's actually his friend Peyton Bassett's brand new bike, and we're just getting it dialed in so it runs good for her. And yeah. Been a great week so far, guys. I hope you've had fun. Obviously, the Shlog's been focused mainly on the RK Tech head on the 300. We just got done. Hey, there he comes. We just got done with Dawn Patrol. Make sure you check out that video to hear our thoughts on that 300 head actually out in the dirt. What do you think, Thomas?
It runs great.
Has it run? Awesome. Right on. So, guys, this is a 2021 YZ125X. Here's what we did. It's got a 410 main jet. It's got a 32.5 pilot, and it's got the stock needle in the number 2 position. And yeah, it runs really good. Super crisp and clean. We're here at about 6,000 feet. 5,700, I think, is what officially Montrose is. So yeah, great jetting specs. Fork bleeders are all ready to go, so we'll let them know to come pick it up. Oh, right on, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that Shlog. We had a great week here at DynoJet. Super stoked to have my kid helping me out for today. He was here all Saturday helping me do stuff. It was really, really awesome. I didn't film any of it because we were too busy doing things. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys liked that. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That would mean a ton to us. But most importantly, I hope you get out, you spread the gospel of 2 wheels. And I desperately hope that what we're doing here at DynoJet is inspiring you guys to work on and get out and ride your dirt bikes!